Welcome everybody to the Short Sports Show. I'm your host Daniel Short. Today is Friday, August 7th, which only means we are closer and closer. Actually, we don't even need to say we're closer anymore. Sunday, 2 days away from NFL preseason football with the Hall of Fame game with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Minnesota Vikings. We have that. College football camps all across the country have opened up and have started. It's exciting. We are here, ladies and gentlemen. Hibernation is over with. So much to talk about in college football and the NFL. And a lot of it this week is because it's going to be kind of like a downer. We're going to try to make it a little upbeat, a little more happier, because we have a lot of it being guys who are getting injured, transferring, just bad, kind of sad stuff. But it's okay. It's all right. We're going to keep it upbeat. This is the Short Sports Show, and let's get it on with it. I'm your host, Daniel Short. Follow me on Twitter before we begin, at @short_sports 24/7. And all the links for the Facebook and everything are down below in the comment section. But one thing I want to tell you guys, got great news before we start off the show. The Short Sports Show is not only on Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and YouTube. It is now on Stitcher Radio, Stitcher.com. You can look on their website again, Stitcher.com. The link is down below. That goes straight to my page over there, as well as their app. So if you have an iOS, Apple, Android, doesn't matter. You can download it, Stitcher app on your phone, so you can listen to the show anywhere you go. So it's just another opportunity to grow this show. I appreciate everybody liking and sharing out this show with your friends and family. It does a ton for me. I guarantee you guys, every little thing, and that's not even a little, that's a huge thing. If you guys are able to share the show, it's just a huge thing for this show, and it reaches out. So great news. We are now with Stitcher Radio. It's awesome, and I plan on doing a little more projects going along now that we're getting closer. Also, I'm going to do more with YouTube like I used to. I think we gained a few viewers through that, and I've really kind of just stopped doing that. So now I'm going to pick it back up, really start doing it, just because it's another opportunity for the show. It gives a new kind of style that is exactly what we need on this show. So look for that on YouTube. Subscribe to the Short Sports Show. Again, all the links are down in the description below. And let's get on with the show. You guys have been waiting for it. Let's do this. BYU running back Jamal Williams will miss the season after withdrawing from school. Cougars head coach Bronco Mendenhall said in a statement released by the school Thursday that the senior running back was stepping away for personal reasons. Mendenhall says he plans to have Williams back with the team next year, so he won't lose eligibility because obviously he will not be in school. Williams has ran for 2,626 yards and 23 touchdowns in 3 seasons with BYU. He missed the final 5 games last season because of injuries, but he's still the most productive running back for the BYU team. They do have, and will have to lean on this season, with Algeron Brown, 324 yards rushing last season. Nate Carter, who had 290, and Adam Hine, who had 154 yards. They're going to have to lean on those guys to take all the work, and I just have to see how BYU does it now without, again, Jamal Williams stepping away this season. But we'll be back for the 2016 season. Taysom Hill, you're going to have to do something now. You're going to have to stay healthy for this BYU team to really make a push here. North Carolina defensive back Malik Simmons must perform 24 hours of community service after 2 misdemeanor charges were deferred. Simmons, who was suspended from the team on July 24th after resisting arrest charge, came earlier that week in Chapel Hill. He previously had been arrested May 16th on a drug charge. So I don't know if he's going to stay on the team. No report said whether he was in question on staying on the team or not. But back-to-back arrests, not really helping your situation in North Carolina. You got to do something. Academic issues have already been a problem. You don't want off-the-field issues to start becoming a problem as well. Florida linebacker Antonio Morrison, the guy who's been holding it down for that defense, is now recovering from a left knee injury that will require not one, but 2 operations. And he has no idea when he'll be ready to play, and the Gators aren't sure it's going to be this season. This is what Morrison had to say. Quote, "There is no time frame. Whenever I'm ready to go." That's it. He had 101 tackles last season, led Florida's defense, and in the past 3 seasons, he's had 191, including 9 for a loss, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a pass breakup and an interception. All 3 seasons at Florida. He's just holding it down over there. And Morrison was fairly optimistic, though, especially for someone who was 7 months removed from a significant setback. But head coach Jim McElwain sounded less hopeful that Morrison will return anytime soon. This is what he had to say. He said, quote, "Let's not downplay what the injury was, okay? He had 2 surgeries on the same knee off the same injury, right? I will never put a player out there. Life's way too short. I'll never put a player out there unless they're able to truly defend themselves and be productive. So when that time comes, our doctors will get it cleared and we'll go from there, but I'm not putting a time limit on it." So, I don't know. But that is a huge loss if Morrison cannot go for this Florida Gators defense come this season with a whole lot of turnover going around with Florida. And defense has been the only thing that's really kept them in these games with the offense struggling. You know, he's the main star. He's the guy that's holding it down. So we'll just have to see how Florida goes. And basically it's going to have to go without him this season. Notre Dame head coach Brian Kelly says running back Greg Bryant won't play this season, citing Bryant's failure to meet expectations. Quote, "There are certain expectations within our program that must be met on a daily basis. Quite simply, Greg did not meet those expectations." While Greg Bryant does remain on scholarship, he is allowed to practice with the Fighting Irish. His father, also named Greg, told Scout.com that Bryant is, quote, "academically ineligible." In addition, Kelly announced that linebacker Michael Deeb and tight end Mike, stay with me here, Human, I'm going to go with that, a pair of redshirt sophomores are medically disqualified and will remain on scholarship. Now back to Greg Bryant, a redshirt sophomore, was already facing a 4-game suspension to start the season because of violation of team rules. He is now out for the entire year. So good luck, Notre Dame. Also, Notre Dame, bad news. I'm sorry, Notre Dame fans. I know it's not the way I want to start it off your Friday morning and into the weekend. But Colin Hill confirmed to the Irish Illustrated.com Wednesday night that he has decided to transfer from the Irish. And the school confirmed his departure. According to the defensive end, he's already back in his home in Texas after receiving a release from his Notre Dame scholarship. Hill played in 9 games as a true freshman, coming to the Irish as a 3-star member of last year's recruiting class. And Scout.com's website writes that, quote, "Hill was expected to compete for a pass rush role within the Irish defense this season." Now that is no longer, though this is some good news. He is in the state of Texas. That is his hometown, or home state, excuse me. That is good news for us TCU fans that we could possibly might be able to pick him up if he wants to stay in the FBS ranks. And I wouldn't mind having another pass rusher and add it to some more depth. And for the future, Colin Hill, if you're listening, you might be. You never know. I'm in Texas too. Hey, come to TCU. That would be awesome. Win a championship with us holding it down over there. Do it soon, though. Please do it soon so you could just miss this season and be back for next year. Hey, we have back-to-back Hills coming to TCU. Kenny Hill, who started throwing. Oh, man, it was so awesome. I saw TCU practice. I know this is off topic. I saw TCU practice, a few clips of it, and it had Kenny Trill Hill. I probably shouldn't say Trill. I think he's done with that. But Kenny Hill throwing passes in a TCU helmet and jersey. Well, red jersey, but whatever. To a few of the TCU receivers. Oh, it feels so good. He is able to practice with the team. Just won't be able to play because of transfer rules. But if we have Kenny Hill starting quarterback next season, Colin Hill starting defensive end, TCU next season. Hey, Colin Hill, I know you want to. Woo! I'm pumped for TCU the next 2 years. I truly am. Alabama running back Bo Scarborough got ahead of myself, is suspended for the first 4 games this season. The only reason given by Nick Saban was for the suspension was that it's, quote, an NCAA thing. Scarborough, of course, we all heard about him back in April. Sustained a significant knee injury during a spring practice scrimmage and underwent surgery a short time later. He is currently participating in summer camp with his Roll Tide teammates. Roll Tide teammates? Why did I add the Roll Tide? I had the roll in it. Whatever. And is officially ahead of schedule in his rehab, although he's one of those in a non-contact mode, so he's just, kind of, out there doing some of the drills. He was a member of the, or 5-star member of the Tide's 2014 recruiting class and was rated the number 2 athlete in the country and the number 4 player at any position in the state of Alabama. He's, of course, now suspended for 4 games. I honestly thought when I first saw the story, I thought he was still going to be out for a majority of the season due to the injury. I didn't think that. I know he's ahead of rehab, his schedule and stuff like that. I didn't think he was still going to be able to play any of those games. But in case he is, now he can't. Suspended for the first 4 games by Nick Saban. LSU has confirmed that Jonah Austin has decided to take his leave of the football program and transfer to an undetermined location. No reason was given for the leave, although a search for a better opportunity, to start somewhere is most likely the reason. And if Austin were to end up at another FBS institution, he would be eligible to play this season in 2015 as a graduate transfer. Austin was a 3-star member of LSU's 2011 recruiting class and was rated number 58 tackle in the country. He did not see any game action in his first 2 seasons at LSU, but then played a total of 12 games in the past 2 years, 5 in 2014 and 7 in 2013. But apparently, according to one of the sources, he was slated to be a backup in 2015 this season, hence why he is going ahead and transfer. But that's a good thing for him that once you your graduate transfer, you don't have to sit out. You don't have to go to a FCS school, which can obviously hurt your draft stock. Go to FBS and possibly be on a championship team, and go from there and potentially be a starter. That's awesome. University of Texas offensive lineman Terrell Cunning was arrested earlier Wednesday morning for shoplifting, with the Austin American-Statesman later reporting that the alleged shoplifting occurred at a local Walmart. Brian Davis of the Statesman clarified that Cunning was cited and not arrested, but, quote, the citation is considered an arrest. A 3-star member of Strong's first Longhorn recruiting class last year, Cunning was rated as the number 13 center in the country and a number 74 player at any position in the state of Texas. He took a red shirt as a true freshman. Exiting spring practice, Cunning was expected to compete for a backup role along the line. And now, one of those key morals that Charlie Strong said that that's implemented throughout his time at Texas and Louisville. He said, no stealing. Let's see where he stands here. I like to see where he stands here, especially with Texas. It's gonna be interesting to see what Charlie Strong has to say about this. Kansas announced that a pair of sophomore linemen, Joey Bloomfield and junior Vicenia, are no longer playing members of the Jayhawk football program. I feel bad for Kansas. It seems like every year they lose like 6 or 7 players. Bloomfield has decided to retire from the sport of football, but will remain with the program. Didn't say. I'm assuming he's going to be a student coach, something along that line. Since he's going to remain with the program, while the reasons for Vicenia departure are unknown. They do not know why he's decided to quit Kansas football. As a true freshman last year, Vicenia started at the final 3 games last year. Excuse me. Oh, Jesus. And one of the guard positions. He exited spring practice as likely a starter on KU's line, specifically at right guard. Obviously, that now will not happen. Bloomfield has not seen any field during his 2 seasons at Kansas. and was projected to be at least a contributor on the rotation. Excuse me real quick. I'm so sorry. Allergies, Texas, do not like them. Alabama confirmed in its press release Thursday morning that it will open the 2018 season against Louisville in what will be the third ever Orlando kickoff. No specific date for the contest that will be played in the Citrus Bowl has been released, but I mean it's kind of a given that it's going to be a kickoff game, which is the first week of football. The Tide and the Cardinals have only met 3 times previously, with the last coming in 1991, and Alabama owns a 2-1 edge in the series. Florida State and Ole Miss will square off in the inaugural Orlando kickoff next year, and the teams for 2017 version of the game have not been announced just yet, but I kind of like that, and I would like to see, TCU go out there and play somebody from maybe the SEC or the ACC. That would be kind of nice, go out to Florida, since, the Big 12 doesn't want to expand and add a Florida team. This would be a great way to go out there and beat a team and recruiting, being in Florida. That would be nice. But Florida State and Ole Miss will kick off next year in 2016. No teams announced for 2017, but in 2018, we will have Alabama versus Louisville. Darrell Sungey, he's a defensive player for Oregon State, is going to be out. He is out, completely. Been kicked off the team. University officials have confirmed that Sungey has been dismissed from the football team and will not play for the Beavers this coming season. The Oregon, that's such a. I swear these newspapers, why they just pick the weirdest names. The Oregonian, I don't know, reported that Darrell Sungey failed 3 drug tests leading up to the 2014 season last year, which led to his suspension. The linebacker not fulfilling, quote, additional behavior requirements stemming from those failed drug tests led to his dismissal. He was a true start member of OSU's 2013 recruiting class and played in 12 games as a true freshman, mainly on special teams. But he did have 12 tackles on special teams, which was good for his second on the team. He's now out again, this time completely kicked off the team. Last college football news before we head to the NFL, which is where it gets really exciting. Arizona State has suspended freshman defensive tackle George Leah for the season. A school spokesman confirmed Thursday. Leah, who was suspended indefinitely following an arrest in June for an on-campus BB gun incident, will be allowed to redshirt this season. This is what head coach Todd Graham said to the Arizona Republic report. Quote, our deal is if you violate the rules, there's going to be accountability. He'll have a plan of improvement, and he'll have a lot of things with that. We felt like this young man deserved a second chance, but that's a pretty harsh punishment. That's where I get confused right there, that last sentence. But that's a pretty harsh punishment. You're the one that did it. You're the one that ultimately came down with it saying you were suspended for the entire season. That's it. If you feel like that's a harsh punishment, then maybe you should have changed it. I don't know. Leah was charged with 1 misdemeanor count of threatening and intimidating to cause injury and another misdemeanor count of assault with the intent to cause fear or physical injury. Well, rip him. The NFL, this is where it all gets good, but a little bit of scares and also a whole lot of scares for some people. Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Dez Bryant was unable to finish Thursday's practice after suffering a left hamstring strain in 7-on-7 drills. Bryant remained on the field for the remainder of practice as he walked off the field afterward. He said his leg was tight, but that he would be okay. He even tweeted saying, I'm okay, Cowboy Nation, relax, everything's cool. He is fine, but obviously did give a scare after signing a huge deal, and obviously they want him this, huge contributor on the team, star player. That's a little scary. Something a little bit shocking. I feel like we hear this a lot. Actually, we hear this every single year for Peyton Manning, and it happened again. But it also could be because Demaryius Thomas has also missed some time after a holdout. Demaryius Thomas said Thursday that Manning's passes are stronger and faster in training camp compared to last year's. I'm going to pause right there. I'm going to pause. Listen to me. How many times have we heard that? How many times from, it doesn't have to just be from Demaryius Thomas. It could be from any player, coach, staff member, doesn't matter. How many times have we heard Peyton Manning's throws, his passes are stronger and faster, and he looks better than he did before? How many times have we heard that? Like, why does that have to be a thing? Why can't it just, like, you don't hear that about Tony Romo. You don't hear that about Eli, Phillip, Ben, anybody. You don't always hear that. But it's like they're making an excuse for Peyton Manning because now he's getting older and older. I mean, we don't even hear that about Tom Brady. We don't hear that, his passes are getting stronger and faster. Why do we have to hear that about Manning? That only tells me that the players are still concerned with his passes and how he can hold up. That's what it tells me. Because if we don't hear that about any other quarterback that's getting older, but we hear it every single year with Manning, because it started off with his neck, and then because he's getting older, all this other stuff, that tells me people are concerned about Peyton Manning and the way he can throw the football. But this is what Demaryius Thomas had to say. Said, quote, "He's smiling. I like that he's feeling good. I don't know if you all are going to believe what I say. I don't. But I think it's a little more zip on it. I don't know how he can do that. He's an older guy, one of the oldest guys on the team. But I feel like every year around this time, there's always more zip on the ball. You can notice it. He threw a couple posts, probably 50, 60 yards, and I'm like, whoa. I'm like, whoa, that we have to hear this every single year. Manning's going to be 39, entering his 18th season in the league. Thomas is now a 6-year pro after signing, and also he signed a 5-year, $70 million deal. I just feel like, obviously I'm not out there. I don't see his throws. But it's just that if you have to say this every year, that kind of shows that you're concerned, or people that are concerned about his arm, the way he throws. So we'll just have to see this year, see in preseason, because that's the closest thing we got. I can't wait Sunday. Woo! I cannot wait. Brandon Marshall, this is an interesting story right here, and talking about his relationship with Jay Cutler. This is what he had to say on ESPN's First Take, saying that Jay Cutler was I'm getting ahead of myself here. Words. He said that Brandon Marshall was the only person in the Chicago Bears organization to hold Cutler accountable, and that his former teammates barely spoke last season. This is what he had to say again on ESPN First Take. There is a culture in the league that you keep everything in-house. But for me last year, I felt like when we are going on 10 years in the league, it's time to get it. I felt like I was the only one in the organization that had the huevos to hold Cutler accountable. It didn't go the way I wanted it to go. Now, of course, Cutler and Marshall had on-field chemistry unraveled in 2014 as the Bears collapsed to a 5-11 record. Marshall caught only 61 passes for 721 yards, his second lowest totals of his career. While Cutler, the crazy part, posted his second highest passer rating with 88.6 of his career. But the quarterback did get benched in Week 16 in favor of, surprisingly, Jimmy Clausen. Marshall said his on-field relationship with Cutler has also just tarnished. It's gone during the season, saying, quote, "We didn't talk much during the year. We still haven't talked. This is sad. I don't think there's anybody in the league that had more chemistry than us. If we had a slant route, I was going in the hole and he would find me. We saw the game the right way. I felt like that is something we could have built on." And he also said later after all this that this was his last time talking about the Chicago Bears or any of his past teams. From now on, it is strictly the New York Jets and nobody else. He will not answer any more questions about Jay Cutler, about anybody from the past. It's all about the New York Jets. So it's good that he's now finally moving on. But, at the same time, I don't know where I would stand on this because I'm not a huge fan of Jay Cutler. So trying to stay biased, or not be biased on this is a little hard. And I'm a huge fan of Brandon Marshall. But he did say something else that I didn't add in here about talking about the team that they had and their Super Bowl window that they had. Remember the early years that Brandon Marshall and Jay Cutler were in Chicago together, the Bears had multiple chances to go to the Super Bowl. You know, they reached the NFC Championship. They lost to the Green Bay Packers. They went to divisional playoffs, lost to the Green Bay Packers, and on probably some other team I can't remember. But it just, you know, they had the team. Offensive line was pretty garbage. Coaching, iffy. Defense, depending on what years you look at, up and down. But I do agree with Marshall that there could have been some more accountability held on Jay Cutler, that someone should have said something a little bit more. I mean, obviously we heard about it a ton and blamed Jay Cutler a ton by media and fans, but you never heard anybody in the locker room. And maybe that's because he's a quarterback and it's really the guy you have to look up and trust. But there comes a point where you have to say to the quarterback that, hey, you're slacking off a little bit. You're costing us some plays. Get it together. And Brandon Marshall, I feel like, was that type that, I don't know if he was the type to actually say anything. Obviously, we don't know. Again, he said you keep everything in-house, so we don't know what exactly the conversations were. But I feel like Brandon Marshall would be that guy to really talk and say, hey, we got to get this going. We have a small window here, a small opportunity to make something and win a championship together. And I believe the chemistry that they had is the best in the league at those times. I mean, when they were with Denver, then they went to, obviously they went separate ways. Jay Cutler went straight to Chicago. Brandon Marshall went to Miami, then to Chicago. But their time in Denver and their time in Chicago, I mean, they really had the chemistry. Brandon Marshall, the only receiver in Chicago Bears history to post back-to-back seasons of 100-plus catches. I mean, that's incredible. And I just feel like, Jay Cutler could step up and say, hey, I basically sucked those times, Even though it's kind of hard because, you think about it. Second highest passer rating when Marshall had a bad year. Kind of good for Jay Cutler. Doing pretty better. Doing better. But yeah, so I kind of like what Marshall had to say, but it's a little too late. To say that. What was pretty funny to hear someone say was Texans owner Bob McNair. Now we all know when he says something, it's just blunt. It's just out there real quick. But and we kind of question what he says and if he's really just thinking about it. This was just hilarious, and I love it because it's absolutely 100% freaking true. This is what he had to say, if I can get it right. Here we go. Texans owner Bob McNair isn't surprised that running back Arian Foster is now injured. Again. Texans owner Bob McNair said Thursday after practice that this kind of thing just tends to happen with Foster. And McNair went even stronger in the interview with John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, saying, quote, I can't say I'm surprised. It seems like every year he has a soft tissue injury. We just keep our fingers crossed. That is true. The past few years, Arian Foster, and before he became a household name, we didn't know about him. Then when he had those breakout years with the Texans, everybody began to love him, and then he just slowly every year started getting hurt. Hamstrings, back issues, just about everything in the book. And now, again, another injury to him with a hamstring. Going to be out a couple weeks. It's I don't know. Obviously, if you're a Texans fan, you're pissed off because it's like, man, you are a star player, especially with Andre Johnson now gone. You are a star player. You're hurt now again. Why should we keep you? Obviously, Arian Foster, if I was the Texans front office management, I would not sign him to a long-term deal, especially some money contract. If he wanted that, he can move around and get somewhere else because I would not mess with that. But Arian Foster, it is funny because it is true. That someone finally points it out, especially the Texans owner, Bob McNair, calls him out and says, you're basically weak. Even though later in the interview, and I'm not trying to be one of those media to twist it all around, he did say, well, we still believe he will have a good year. He did say that, so I'm not going to be one of those media people that completely twist it, cut that out the story, and just say it was all negative. No, Bob McNair did say that he still believes Arian Foster will still have a good year for the Texans this season. But at the same time, he says it seems like every year he has a soft tissue injury. I can't say I'm surprised. Funny. I love it. Washington Redskins receiver Deshaun Jackson will miss 1 to 2 weeks after spraining his right shoulder Thursday. Head coach Jay Gruden told the reporters. We did believe it was a separation. Now they're saying it's a spraining. Sources said that Jackson suffered a grade 2 separation, which is basically a shoulder sprain is a tear of the ligaments in the joint. It sounds bad. It really does sound bad. But Jackson does say that the injury is not as bad as when he sprained his left shoulder in week 2 of last season when he didn't miss any time. So he doesn't believe it's going to be too bad of an injury. But cornerback D'Angelo Hall also left the joint practice against the Houston Texans earlier with a groin injury. But it didn't appear to be serious. Gruden termed Hall day-to-day. A source told ESPN that Hall is expected to be sidelined just for about a week. Jackson injured his right shoulder at the end of a one-on-one drill. The sad part is it was one of those little tackling dummies. Or I guess you could call it no, it's not really a sled. It's, one of those tackling dummies. Anyways, it's funny because last week he just said that Darrelle Revis, Richard Sherman, nobody could cover him. No one could stop him. Well, apparently this tackling dummy did a pretty good job, and now there's all these memes going out saying that the Cowboys, because, rival teams, all they have to put is a tackling dummy, and they basically have them locked down, which I find is pretty funny because it's just really bad timing for him. But anyways, he caught a pass and hit the ground, then slid, and he laid on the ground for a couple of minutes before walking off on his own power. But he remained on the sideline with his right shoulder wrapped. I cannot speak. I'm so sorry. But again, he doesn't believe it's going to be out too long. Good news, Trent Richardson. He practiced after missing 5 days. Jeez, I cannot talk. 5 days of camp. Trent Richardson is finally starting his quest to reclaim a once promising NFL career. The former Alabama star running back practiced Thursday with the Oakland Raiders for his first time this training camp after missing the first 5 days of camp practice while on the non-football illness list. Orlando. Oakland head coach Jack Del Rio said that Richardson worked himself down to the 220-pound range. He was reportedly weighing in the 240s last season in Indianapolis. Del Rio said, quote, "I really believe with him committing himself like that and getting himself in that kind of shape, he'll have a chance to come out here and show what he's really capable of." I like it. I am hoping, even though I'm a Chargers fan and I don't like the Raiders too much, I am really hoping Trent Richardson has found his spot and does very well. Now, I like Latavius Murray, the running back for the Raiders. They also have undrafted rookie Michael Dyer, who has been putting pressure on Richardson after having a strong first week. Dyer did miss the first practice of training camp Thursday for an undisclosed reason, but still had a good practice the week before, or during that first week, whatever. So I like the Raiders running backs. They're young, except for Trent Richardson. Well, I guess he's still somewhat young. But I really hope Trent Richardson has found his spot and really can be that running back that we saw when he was at Alabama, trucking people over, finding the right holes, and attacking the defense and doing a great job and showing that because he was the number 3 overall pick by Cleveland in the 2012 draft, has been a bust since. I really hope this is a good thing for him and that he's found a spot and he can be a good rotational back with Latavius Murray and Michael Dyer for the Raiders. I think that would give them a really good shot staying in some games. Charles Tillman said Luke Kuechly is, quote, the same if not better than future Hall of Famer Brian Urlacher. When asked on Thursday to compare the two, Tillman said Kuechly was the same if not better than the 8-time Pro Bowl selection in Brian Urlacher. Now, this isn't the first time Kuechly's name has been mentioned, and the same as Urlacher's. ESPN Monday Night Football analyst and former NFL head coach John Gruden compared the former Boston College star to Urlacher during the 2014 preseason. He said Luke Kuechly, oh, the words. This is why we only keep this at a 30-minute show, nothing longer. This is why. Luke Kuechly was the best linebacker in football, also using former Baltimore Ravens star Ray Lewis in comparing the 2013 NFL Defensive Player of the Year to the all-time greats. But Tillman, who played with Urlacher at his best in 2005 when Urlacher was the NFL Defensive Player of the Year, said this, quote, Brian was really great in his prime. Father time catches up to all of us. Right now, Luke is very young, very active, very explosive. He has a lot of power and speed and reminds me a lot of Brian back in the 03, 04, 05, and 06 era. Luke Kuechly has 473 tackles, more than any player in the NFL during his first 3 seasons, and Urlacher surpassed 100 tackles only twice in 2000 and 2002 during his career, which ended in 2012. But statistically looking at it, because I know people are going to go crazy over this, Urlacher's big edge on Luke Kuechly is in sacks. He had 6 in 2000. Urlacher had 6 in 2005 and 41 and a half in his career. Luke Kuechly only has 6 in 3 years. So, Luke Kuechly's more of a coverage guy. I mean, he can still hit. He'll knock people out and stop the run. But sacks, not really his name. But I think it is a good comparison, and Kuechly can really potentially live up to that in a few years. Still pretty early, of course. It's just 3 years. So far, so good, though, for Cleveland Browns quarterback Johnny Manziel as he continues to jump feet first into the new approach of his NFL career. And I love it. I'm so happy. I'm telling you guys, Johnny Football will be the starter for the Browns sometime this season. And not because of injury. I guarantee you, there's no way you can tell me Josh McCown is a starting quarterback in the NFL and a good one. Not happening. Not happening. In the past 2 days, that applies to on the field as well as off in his new approach. Manziel remains the backup. Oh, let's slow it down, people. To Josh McCown, whom Coach Mike Penn said is firmly the number 1 quarterback. But for the second day in a row, Manziel has had a good practice. Does that mean the light is going on and that he will continue to grow? I believe so. Only Manziel can answer that, but I believe Manziel has found his spot. I mean, did y'all see that 50-yard touchdown throw that he obviously threw? On the money, a dime piece right there. And Manziel will be playing in the Friday scrimmage at Ohio State. He's going to get some reps with number 1. That's what Mike Penn said. He did say, don't go crazy, fans, that he's going to be the starter. But he's giving them some reps, which is kind of saying, hey, Josh McCown sucks. Manziel, please help us out. Even though I don't believe Mike Penn likes Johnny. That's another discussion for some other time. Cleveland, obviously, Johnny Manziel said he is 100% happy that he's no longer the subject of hype and constant attention, adding that just being able to be one of the 90 on the roster is, quote, so nice. This is what he had to say. It's, quote, it's nice to come out here and wear any kind of shoes that I want, and it's not the main story of the next day. In the offseason, and that was it, end of quote. In the offseason, Manziel had said he was nearly overwhelmed by the hype of his rookie season and needed it to be reduced. Saying, quote, the hype is a little bit tempered and a little bit down, and that for me is a good thing. Now I can just come out and play and do my game and really get to learn, because that's what I really needed to do, is to learn. So I love it. I love it. Johnny Football finding his spot, finding his new approach to the NFL game, really learning this offense, learning how the quarterback position is played in the NFL, especially for someone his size, and to go out there and really just get the job done. I believe in Johnny. I believe in him. Atlanta Falcons running backs Devontae Freeman and Devin Coleman were sidelined by hamstrings. Head coach Dan Quinn did not immediately provide a timetable for Freeman's return, saying, quote, hopefully for him it's a quick turnaround. He's such a passionate competitor. You can see how disappointed he was not to be able to finish today. So hopefully we'll get him back out here soon. He's an absolute competitor. Just every day he brings it, and he stands for a lot of stuff I love about our team. The attitude, intensity, toughness, and wanting to compete. The Falcons were also without rookie running back Tevin Coleman, who was competing with Freeman for the starting role. Coleman also had a hamstring strain and has missed the past 2 days of practice. Some sad news for Cleveland Browns linebacker Barkevious Mingo, who underwent arthroscopic surgery on his right knee Thursday to repair a torn cartilage. Recovery time for this procedure and injury usually totals around a month. With 5 weeks until the season opener, it's possible Browns will have Mingo back in time to play the opening game against the New York Jets. Coach Mike Pence said Mingo's injury came on a single play in practice, but he wasn't sure which it was. Sadly for Mingo, who was the 6th overall pick in the 2013 NFL Draft out of LSU, has fought multiple injuries throughout his career. He had a bruised lung and missed a game as a rookie, and in 2014 he played almost the entire season before a torn labrum in his right shoulder forced him to wear a harness that prevented him from lifting his arm. He had a postseason surgery to repair the shoulder. He spent the spring and summer limited in a red jersey. So, sad news that he was injured again and has to have surgery. Good news is there's a chance he could play week 1 and, only misses a preseason, which, it's okay. But it does suck that he's going to have another surgery, another injury for him. Jaguars wide receiver Marquise Lee will miss the next 2 weeks with a hamstring strain. Lee was hurt during passing drills Wednesday. He cut a route short, motioned for a trainer, and then walked into the cool zone area at the south end of practice fields. The Jaguars said there is no timetable for his return, even though they're saying about 2 weeks. Marquise Lee is another player who's had multiple injuries since the Jaguars drafted him in the second round in 2014. He battled an ankle injury in OTAs and fought a hamstring injury during the first half of the season last year, but he ended up with 37 catches for 422 yards and 1 touchdown. Tampa Bay wide receiver Mike Evans raves about the intelligence of rookie quarterback Jameis Winston, saying, quote, "I heard he learned the offense in 2 days, a day or two, something like that. Crazy. And he's a quarterback, so he has to know what everybody's doing. Me, it took me a while, and I only have to know 1 or 2 positions. So that speaks for itself. Great football mind, one of the hardest workers I've been around." And then he also talks about Winston's abilities and efforts are just crazy. Saying, quote, we got to go out here like walkthroughs, and he knew everything to do in OTAs. He rarely makes mistakes. A guy who hasn't made any I couldn't say it hasn't made any mistakes, but hasn't thrown any interceptions in training camp. How about Marcus Mariota? How about him? No interceptions through 6 days of training camp. No interceptions. Not bad. Not bad at all. Now, obviously, that's not saying he's automatically great. He's going to be a boss this season, but it does say that he's not making that many mistakes, and he's getting the playbook down as well. We just haven't heard that too much. Titans Insider reported that Tennessee Titans tight end Delaney Walker needed 12 stitches to close a cut near his left thumb sustained in practice on Thursday. Ladies and gentlemen, 12 stitches. Delaney said he still doesn't know whether any bones are actually. Before I say that, he didn't know at the time this article was written, but he is good to go. There are no bones broken. That report did come out earlier, or late last night, early this morning. Coach Ken Wisenhunt said Walker should have missed more than a couple days and doesn't believe the injury is serious. This is what Walker had to say. "I got a cut on my hand, and the trainers wanted to be smart with the cut and make sure everything was okay. I got the stitches, but it was just a small cut." Tell me how a small cut got you 12 stitches to close. Like, That's not a small cut. And if that's a small cut, 12 stitches to close it, but apparently that's a small cut. Those are really small stitches then. Sam Bradford is really happy with how his knee feels, saying, quote, "I think I feel better than I was expecting. I thought my knee would hold up, but I wasn't sure. I hadn't put it through 4 days of practice coming into camp, but the way my knee feels right now, it feels great. I'm really happy with where I'm at right now." The Eagles open up the preseason schedule on August 16th against the Colts. That will be Bradford's first meeting with the defense since he was injured in a preseason game against the Browns last year. So it's going to be interesting to see the Eagles with how they're going to run their offense with Sam Bradford at starting quarterback and the whole brand new team, the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm sorry. But that is it for today's show. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm sure there's going to be some breaking news right after the show is over with. That always happens. I'll be done with the show. I'll start wrapping it up, editing it for YouTube and some other stuff. And I'll start getting notifications on my phone saying, "Oh, breaking news. Some player got hurt, or some player signed a deal, some player this and that." And it's just like, that's cool. Don't put it on, don't do it earlier so I could have set it up for my show. It's all good. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like and share it. Again, every Friday morning, the Short Sports Show. Become a fan on Facebook. Link is down below. Follow me on Twitter at @short_sports 24/7. Listen on YouTube, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and now Stitcher Radio. Please, guys, share it. It's a huge, huge deal to be on Stitcher Radio. It's absolutely amazing, and I'm so happy I could be on these stations. So thank you guys. It's all because of you, all of y'all listening and liking and sharing. It's because I could just make the show and nobody listens, then the show goes nowhere. But you guys are the true reason I'm now with Stitcher Radio as well as iHeart and iTunes. So thank you guys so much. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, follow me on Twitter at @short_sports 24/7. I will see you guys next Friday morning. We're going to be talking about some NFL preseason. We're going to talk, recap some of the games, preview some of the games, and hopefully nobody gets hurt because, that's all bad. I don't want to see none of that. But as always, guys, God first, God bless, and I will see you guys next week. Peace.